So this is a tutorial for the asset randomizer, which in turn is a simple little plugin for Roblox Studio that allows you to select to take a part or a folder or a model containing parts and rotate them by a random number set by, obviously, the plugin. It's just to squeeze, every little bit of realism out of a game, perhaps. Getting that immersion, so not everything's to look so crisp, such as these parts being together. So anyway, how to operate it? What you do is you're going to look for randomize. Well, obviously you're going to install it first, but you're going to look for randomize under the Exodus creation kit. Don't ask about that. It's got to be unique, obviously, to prevent overwriting assets and conflicting assets. So you're going to click that, and this little user interface is going to pop up. Now it says, warning, this uses math random. If you are familiar with coding and scripting, you'll know what that would mean. Math random is a function currently slipping out of use. If you are unfamiliar with how math random works, what it does, it will take two numbers that you set and it will return a random number between the lowest or the highest. So if the lowest would be 5 and the highest would be 10, it would return a random number between 5 and 10, so 7 or 8, for example. That's shown down here. You have the 3 axes for the orientation that makes up the orientation of a block. You've got X, Y, and Z. And this is what the inside of the math random bracket would theoretically look like. It's a comma separating two values, the lowest and the highest. Now it's really important that this number is always either equal or lower than this number, as must this number be equal to this or always higher. Otherwise it will genuinely throw an error, and it doesn't like that. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you four different examples. First of a single block, and then our 3 test beds. Now this is we're going to use a single part. What you got to do, you select the model folder you want randomized, or part, up to you. You click it, and then you define how do you want to rotate it. So for example, we're going to go X, we're going to rotate it by 5, but we're not going to rotate it any more than 10, for example. Just like that. And then we're going to hit generate, and note how the block moved once. That's because it found a random number between 5 and 10 and added it on to the orientation. So if we click it again, it will add another number on, and another, and another. It will do this until approximately 90 degrees, at which point you can fairly easily, if you want to, it will not go any further. If you want the block to completely turn this direction, you can either find it on this axis, reverse it by adding or minusing 180 or something. I've probably just given away multiple brain cells, but you can also set this to be minus. So if we put -10 and this at 0, and we hit generate, note how it practically resets. It actually just went straight back to 0. That's actually quite satisfying. So that's what it would be like with a single part. Now, if we could do this with multiple parts. However, selecting multiple parts like this will not work. It will simply find one part, and that's its part. Any feedback on how to fix this, please message me, whatever. get in touch. But the way to get around this is all the parts must be in a folder or a model. We'll get to testbed 3 momentarily. But if we were to take a folder and we modify the Z coordinate by maybe 8, and it can go no higher than 14, we hit generate, they'll all change to random values between 8 and 14 until, well, it won't. It'll just keep spinning. And if you do think you're not satisfied with it, you can always Control Z all the way back, which is quite nice. Quite surprised the whole Control Z function worked, to be honest. But they have to be in a folder or a model. Speaking of the model, if we select testbed 2 and maybe we want to modify the Y coordinate by 5, 10, and maybe add 2 and 5 onto the Z coordinate. You know, you can modify all 3 if you want to, but as long as they are with valid coordinates. Hit generate, and now note there is a slight twist on the blocks. And maybe you can select one part, you can keep rotating it. It's your call how you use this. Roblox is, of course, building imagination, isn't it? I'm just hoping this asset randomizer helps. And now we're going to come to the third test bed, which is not within the class name of model or folder. It's a body colors. Now, the model and the folder, they can be renamed whatever you want. You know, testbed 1, testbed 2. They don't have to be named testbed. As long as they are folders or models, they'll work. If you had anything else, such as body colors, and we have these exact same coordinates maybe, we'll hit generate and it's going to throw a warning at us saying testbed 3 is not a valid class name. Testbed 3 obviously being the name. It will tell you exactly what the problem is. If you were to use something else, such as maybe, you know, you had something, you just selected workspace and pressed generate, it would say workspace is not a valid class name. It has to be a folder or a model. I will be perhaps looking at other ways to, well, for it to recognize more things, but for the time being, you know, it's just released. It's just these 3 that will be recognized: a single part, a folder, or a model. And also, something else to note, I'm going to go back to the first test bed. These numbers, obviously what you do with this asset randomizer is what you do. You know, I can't stop you. I can only advise you, don't make the numbers too high. You can press generate as many times as you want. But if you have it at 20 and do not go higher than 40, there is some serious potential for unwanted results. So maybe 80 to 100. It has the potential for some undesired results. If you want to squeeze every bit of immersion out of the object you're building, you would use small numbers and well, not quietly, but you just slowly chisel it away. We'll go to a main example now. This is a fairly nicely built fence. And what we're going to do, we're going to note how the fence itself is a model. We throw that, and it's not going to recognize anything because the children of this fence are in fact folders themselves. They're not parts, but the children of A and B are all parts. So if we were to hit 10 for the x-axis and the 12, note how it would rotate all of them by 10 to 12. It does look quite nice, I'm not going to lie. I wasn't expecting that. Let's try mashing it up a bit. We're going to put -10 to 10. And then we're going to hit generate. And again, and again. See how it sort of takes the look of a sort of rundown fence, perhaps. And we can also do it with everything in B. We could do it with the posts, maybe not that much, -5 perhaps. And maybe messing with the Z coordinate, perhaps. No, let's not mess with the Z coordinate actually. We'll mess with the Y coordinate. There we go. It's just for that little bit of immersion. That's what this asset randomizer is all about. It's so everything isn't so streamlined as you would usually expect in, well, a Robloxian style world. As many places can look rushed. I'm not innocent of that. Many of the houses maybe can be blocky. The fences, as was shown at the start of this, they're all blocky, and this just aims to mitigate some of it. So what you do with this asset randomizer is your call. And if you encounter any bugs, please do get in touch. I'll try to reply as much as I can. And well, I'll see you then. Enjoy.